Today we're going to talk about three concepts from Think and Grow Rich: subconscious mind, creative imagination, as well as autosuggestion. Attributes from Think and Grow Rich which help you bring yourself into working with the concept of autosuggestion to stimulate our creative imagination. We're able to bring forth success in ways that reveal what we refer to as infinite intelligence within. The understanding and awareness that we are connected, everything is connected, this is all one mind, and there is a reservoir which we call infinite intelligence. And although the concept can be defined to a certain degree, the realization and the ability to work with infinite intelligence is found by going deeper into understanding and working with the concept of subconscious mind, primarily through the concept of autosuggestion. Now, when I started this journey of really working with the subconscious mind, it was Think and Grow Rich that brought conscious awareness on this understanding that there is a deeper mind that is not within the conscious awareness of what I believe myself to be. Contained within the subconscious mind is the self-image, the core beliefs, and how we interpret this five-sensory experience. If we can go into the subconscious mind and change our beliefs around, more accurately put, align them with what we desire to experience, we will be able to bring forth success more from a place of flow. Now, he says, you have but three principles to bear in mind and to apply when you wish to use your broadcasting station. Now, he's referring to the brain as the broadcasting station. He says the subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion. So, blessed for me that today I decided to go in and read Think and Grow Rich, and I've been reading it again and again since 2004, and really going deeper into the principles and further integrating them for higher levels of success in various areas of my life. Now, as we go through the book again and again and again and refer it back to some of the other conversations we have been having, we'll recognize that Napoleon Hill speaks about the same thing that we are referring to, which is that the mind, which is made up of the conscious and the subconscious, is stimulated by what we truly desire. So as he states here, we have but three principles to bear in mind and to apply: the subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion. The stimuli through which you put these principles into action have been described. The procedure begins with desire. So no different than our conversations that we've been having on other books that we've been talking about. We start off with the concept of desire. What do we want to experience? What do we want to create? What do we want to bring forth as far as success or results in this world or experience? And by working with the subconscious mind, we're understanding this principle as he states here. Sometimes men speak lightly of the intangibles, the things which they cannot perceive through any of their five senses. And when we hear them, it should remind us that all of us are controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. So look around. What we can interpret via our five senses only represents what we can interpret via our five senses. There is another sense. It's called the sixth sense. And perhaps there are many more senses, but we categorize it as the sixth sense. Now, this sixth sense is working with the creative imagination, subconscious mind. And the sixth sense is also known as intuition. It is where we receive hunches and inspirations. Now, one of the important premise of Think and Grow Rich is in the title, which is to think and grow rich. But what I believe he's really referring to is the subconscious thoughts that are brought forth as a result of impressing the subconscious mind with specific suggestion, which we'll talk about the process in a moment. It is from there that we bring forth hunches and inspirations, creative ways of looking at whatever we are working with in this outer world, the relationships and resources, and connecting them and working with them in interesting ways to bring forth success in ways that may have never been done before. We call this listening to ourselves, trusting ourselves, being intuitive, or one with infinite intelligence. He says, we are now entering the most marvelous of all ages, which will teach us something of the intangible forces of the world about us. Perhaps we shall learn as we pass through the age that the other self is more powerful than the physical self we see when we look into a mirror. So again, 5 senses. We look in the mirror, and from the 5 sensory perspective, we interpret ourselves. Well, there's another self, the subconscious self, the self-image, and higher versions of the self-image, which we call the true self. That is which we are in the process of becoming. And it is brought forth through bringing forth what we desire. And this has been the case with my experience, because as I committed to this philosophy and worked with this information and brought forth success in many areas of my life, I also realized that I was shedding attributes that were not truly who I am, which is made up of what we would call limiting beliefs, disempowering beliefs, or any kinds of interpretation that is not from a place of love. And we've been speaking about this in the last few videos from the context of frame control, which is essentially embodying the state of love and observing as the outer world externalizes it, the reflection of that love. So we get there through the concept of autosuggestion, and most of our interpretation is subconscious. So through the concept of autosuggestion, we impress the subconscious mind to bring forth what we desire, as well as on the journey discover other attributes to further reveal what he refers to as the other self. We call this also self-realization. So again, very important, this 5 sensory experience might only appear as to all that exists. However, there's another sense called the 6th sense, in which he refers to in this book as well, which is where we receive the hunches and inspirations to do the things that we know we have to do, which is a result of identifying with, subconsciously, that which we desire to bring forth, imagine will be brought forth. And we'll talk about this further in the actual process. He says, all sense impressions, which are perceived through the 5 senses, are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed on to the subconscious mind or rejected at will. The conscious faculty serves, therefore, as an outer guard to the approach of the subconscious. Now, most of what has been externalized here has been brought forth without conscious understanding via the subconscious mind. Now, that stated, it's important to then know what we are allowing into our subconscious mind, because that is what is being expressed on the journey. Now, autosuggestion is conscious suggestion to the subconscious. So again, autosuggestion is conscious suggestion to the subconscious. It is consuming the same information again and again. And as a result of consuming the same information again and again, you observe as reality changes. Now, this is consciously chosen information, that which you imagine, the same kind of videos or information that you have been consuming that is forming the self-image or changing the paradigm or further affirming the paradigm and expressing via the subconscious. Now, autosuggestion, he says here, is a term which applies to all suggestions that are self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through the five senses. Stated in another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. So what we're doing is we're being very conscious on what we are suggesting over to our subconscious mind. And as we bring forth, we externalize what is being impressed on the subconscious mind through autosuggestion, and this is happening all day long, whether you're using formal autosuggestion as outlined in this book, which we'll talk about in a moment, or whatever kind of information you're consuming, it's going to re-express itself through your communication and your experiences. So on the journey for creating success, we have a vision, that which we desire to see brought forth. And what we want to do is saturate the subconscious mind with information that is in harmony to that vision, to the best of our ability, knowing that when it has done that, when we have consciously done that, the subconscious mind will express people, environments, circumstance, and other information to reveal the degree of autosuggestion or what has been suggested. You'll see it. We call this signs, synchronicities, or certain opportunities that present themselves in the outer world in relation to our vision. And even if we have seen this to the slightest degree, this is working. So what do? We continue the process. And then what happens is not only do we consciously saturate our mind with autosuggestion, but the subconscious expressions further reaffirm. You could say that's a different way of autosuggestion, but through the externalizations of what is in the subconscious mind on this outer world, it's re-impressed back onto the subconscious mind because you want to be there. And then it further creates itself, bringing us more further along the journey to success. So how does it look like? Well, everything you touch turns to gold. You'll notice that opportunities show up from the most unexpected sources. You'll notice that you'll know what to say, when to say, how to say. You'll notice you'll relate with people in a more harmonious way. Watch the last two videos that I've done on frame control. And all of that is a representation of the evolution of the self-image, the concept of self within, through working with the power of subconscious mind through autosuggestion. So he states nature has so built man that he has absolute control over the material which reaches his subconscious mind. So we have our conscious mind. And although we may have been allowing a lot of information to go into our subconscious mind, we now have enough conscious awareness to allow certain information to go into our subconscious mind, while we exclude certain information so it does not impress on the subconscious, or we reinterpret that information in a way that we see it as harmony to what we desire to experience, as we've been discussing over the last 5 or 10 videos. And so thus we have the control. We have the absolute control. He even put it in cap locks in the book, absolute control over the material which reaches his subconscious mind through his 5 senses. Although this is not meant to be construed as a statement that man always exercises this control. So this is the key. To more so each day, exercise the control. What are we consuming? And what are the results of what we have been consuming? Well, all we have to do is observe our 5 sensory experience, and then we know what we are consciously or unconsciously choosing to affirm. Now, we're working with the power of creative imagination. And we've been discussing this a lot through the conversations that we've been having on Neville's information, in which he refers to imagination pretty much in all of his conversations, his lectures, his discussions, his books, etc. And Napoleon Hill also puts a lot of emphasis on imagination. Here's what he says. He says, hand over the thought suggested in the preceding paragraph to your imagination. Now, we're referring to the autosuggestion, which we'll talk about in a moment, and see what your imagination can or will do to create practical plans for the accumulation of money through transmutation of your desire. So here's the idea. We are very clear, or we have a certain degree of clarity of what we desire to bring forth. We use the process of autosuggestion as outlined in Think and Grow Rich. And the autosuggestion process impresses the subconscious mind with specific instructions. The instructions, when impressed on the subconscious mind, begin to externalize as our experiences in the outer world, signs, synchronicities, and so forth. What also ends up happening is we tap into infinite intelligence, which is found within. It is within us. And ideas, plans, show themselves up within our consciousness or our day-to-day experience. All of a sudden, we start looking at things differently. That's how we know it's working. We feel more inspired, more creativity. That's how we know that it is working. Now, he adds this part here, which is very important. He says, be on the alert for these plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of an inspiration. This inspiration may be considered a direct telegram or message from infinite intelligence. Treat it with respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Now, why is he saying that? Now, if we go back to what I was mentioning earlier, I mentioned that what we impress on the subconscious mind expresses, externalizes in this world. And then when we further affirm what has externalized, or further meditate, or further allow that interpretation of what has been experienced or expressed in the outer world to further saturate our subconscious mind, it recreates itself again and again and again. When you get a hunch and an inspiration from within to act upon something, and then you take the action, reality changes. That action was a facilitator of the subconscious expression. So, on the journey for creating entrepreneurial success, once you know where you're going using the concept of autosuggestion, which we'll talk about in a moment, you'll notice that the journey will begin and you may get flashes, as he puts here, in your mind through the sixth sense in the form of inspiration. And our goal is to act upon it. That is the inspired action. Because as we act upon it, reality changes. We facilitate the reality changes, the rearrangement of this five sensory experience. And then what has been expressed from that is going to further impress the subconscious mind, and the journey continues. And we'll take this action and that action, talk to the right person, and do all these things as long as we remain in that flow to that which we desire to experience. So that's why he's referring to act on these plans immediately. It is further saturating the subconscious mind. It's also a form of active autosuggestion. When visualizing the money you intend to accumulate, with closed eyes, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. This is important. So we're going to go through the autosuggestion instructions in a moment, but I pull this out here and put it on the top because I want to relate this back to the conversations we've been having on Neville's information, where what he says is, what would it look like if it was true? And to imagine a scene that would imply that what you desire to see brought forth has been brought forth. So if you see yourself here, as he refers to Napoleon Hill, rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money, and he put, this is important, he's saying the same thing. The scene that implies the fulfillment. Now, having studied Think and Grow Rich for many years and continuously working with this information, I'm starting to see these parallels that I never saw before. Now, you don't have to know these things conceptually. You just have to follow the instructions. But the key distinctions here still remain the same. He says, see yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. You are imagining it, and you are selecting a scene in your imagination, and that imaginary scene is being impressed on the subconscious mind, and it externalizes it. And what happens on the journey? Because this scene implies the fulfillment, as he says here, in return for this money, then what has been implied as the fulfillment will also bring forth what you intended it to imply, which is the money. So let's get into the autosuggestion instructions. He says, first, go into some quiet spot, preferably in bed at night. Now, this is what we refer to as state akin to sleep, as the Neville Goddard discussions have been bringing forth, where you will not be disturbed or interrupted. Close your eyes and repeat out loud, so you may hear your own words, the written statement of the amount of money you intend to accumulate, the time limit for its accumulation, and a description for the service or merchandise you intend to give in return for the money. And the idea is, and he even puts it here in bold, as you carry out these instructions, see yourself already in possession of the money. So whatever it is that implies that you are in the possession of the money. And the facilitator of that money, which you can choose, which is outlined here, which is the entrepreneurial facilitator, it is the bringing forth of products and services that can benefit the lives of others. If you're an entrepreneur, you know what it is you're creating, you know the end result, you know the products and services that you're going to create and facilitate the sales from. And as a result, it's complete harmonious. This is a harmonious way of looking at service rendered and fair compensation. We've been speaking a lot about this in the last few videos. He says, for example, suppose you intend to accumulate $50,000 by the 1st of January, 5 years hence, that you intend to give personal services in return for the money in the capacity of a salesman. Your written statement of your purpose should be similar to the following. By the first day of January 20 whatever, I will have in my possession $50,000, which will come to me in various amounts from time to time during the interim. In return for this money, I will give the most efficient service for which I am capable rendering, the fullest possible quantity, and the best possible quality of service in the capacity of, and then describe the service or merchandise you intend to sell. Now, as you say this, what you'll notice, we know it's impressing the subconscious when it awakens a certain state of mind in which we then start to feel inspired about what we are affirming. And when we feel inspired, we find ourselves in that state of mind, and our goal is to maintain that state of mind. And then we can say, I believe that I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see this money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. It is now awaiting transfer to me at the time. And in the proportion that I deliver the service I intend to render in return for it, I am awaiting a plan by which to accumulate this money, and I will follow that plan when it is received. Second, repeat this program night and morning until you see it. You can see it in your imagination, the money you intend to accumulate. Third, place a written copy of your statement where you can see it night and morning, and read it just before retiring and upon arising until it has been memorized. Remember, as you carry out these instructions, that you are applying the principle of autosuggestion for the purpose of giving orders to your subconscious mind. Remember also that your subconscious mind will act upon instructions which are emotionalized and handed over to it with feeling. As Neville puts it, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the feeling of naturalness, the feeling of love. What would be the feeling? And if the feeling has been captured through the autosuggestion, or that which we are imagining, that's what he's referring to here when he's referring to emotionalized and handed over to it with feeling. Faith is the strongest and most productive of the emotions. Follow the instructions given in the chapter on faith. So we're not going to get into a discussion on the chapter on faith, but when you read your autosuggestions, we know we've done this right when it brings forth a higher degree of faith, as in, I know this is going to happen. There's a likelihood this is going to happen. High likelihood it's going to happen. There's a certainty that it's going to happen. Anything that's more affirmative than prior to how you were feeling before. Now, this is what will stimulate throughout the day what he refers to here, and will reemphasize this. Be on the alert for those plans, and when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of an inspiration. So as you do this, you'll get inspiration all throughout the day. Sometimes a lot, sometimes a little, but it will be there because it is the subconscious mind externalizing, and we are excited about what is externalizing. And we call those signs, hunches, inspirations, synchronicities, inspiration, revelation, that what we are desiring to bring forth is being brought forth. So on the entrepreneurial journey, you'll get inspiration for what actions to take, what things to do. Or it could be not to act as well. We call this Wu Wei, knowing when to act and when not to act. All of that is facilitated from this state of mind, which I've been referring to in the last handful of videos as ideal state of mind, which represents faith. Now, another way of looking at faith is persistence. Persistence and faith are one, and they are both found in the ideal state of mind. And he says here, these instructions may at first seem abstract. Do not let this disturb you. Follow the instructions no matter how abstract or impractical they may at first appear to be. The time will soon come, if you do as you have been instructed, in spirit as well as in act, when the whole new universe of power will unfold to you. Skepticism in connection with all new ideas is characteristic of all human beings. But if you follow the instructions outlined, your skepticism will soon be replaced by belief, and thus in turn will soon become crystallized into absolute faith. Then you will have arrived at the point where you may truly say, I am the master of my fate, and I am the captain of my soul. Many philosophers have made the statement that man is the master of his own earthly destiny, but most of them have failed to say why he is the master. Man may become the master of himself and of his environment because he has the power to influence his own subconscious mind, and through it gain the cooperation of infinite intelligence. So we're connected, we're one with infinite intelligence via the subconscious mind. And we have the power to influence the subconscious mind through the concept of autosuggestion. And autosuggestion was what I worked with back in 2004, which is why I keep emphasizing it and bringing it up, and I will continue to bring it up. Because we've seen this many times. You could consciously tell somebody what to do. They can consume a lot of information. But if they have not gotten to a point where they have understood the power of their subconscious mind, the information that they consume will not allow itself to be enabled in contribution to the journey. Because in their subconscious mind, their self-image, or what they believe they truly deserve, or the information in the subconscious is not in alignment with that success consciousness that which they desire to see brought forth. Now, by working with autosuggestion and affirming the slight changes that happen and reaffirming them, or working with your imagination and affirming the changes as they happen and reaffirming them, we start to understand more so what he refers to here as controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. Now you'll prove this in your results. You'll see it in your success. And then if you choose to go and study others who also work with this information and see it in their success, you'll see that they're working with the same power, the power that we all have, the ability to impress the subconscious mind, recognizing that who we are today and what has been externalized is what we have been allowing into our subconscious mind by not questioning what we're allowing in our subconscious mind. But now that we've become more consciously aware, we can practice this. And working with the power of Think and Grow Rich, subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion is not only a way to bring forth what you desire, but also a way to understand what he's referring to here. Perhaps we shall learn, as we pass through the age, that the other self is more important than the physical self we see when we look in the mirror. And we'll understand that the other self played the primary role in bringing forth the physical self. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.